Bolo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jairam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivāja Acharya Astotra Satatya Śrimad Divine Grace is Companacharya Srila A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swāmī Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jairam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivāja Acharya Astotra Satatya Śrimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavendra Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridasa Kaur Ki Jai Prem Se Kahao Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Se Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Se Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Ki Jai Se Radha Krishna Gopala Gopinath Syamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Sri Vrindavan Mathura Dham Ki Jai, Sri Mayapur Navadev Dham Ki Jai, Sri Jagannathpuri Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Yamuna Maya Ki Jai, Sri Madhutov Sri Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta-vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the sum of devotees, all glories to the sum of devotees, all glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to Sri Gaura and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate-Vāsudevāya. Om Namo Bhagavate-Vāsudevāya. Om Namo Bhagavate-Vāsudevāya. Narayanam namaskritya naram cheva narottamam devim saraswati vyamsa tato jayo mudire nasta payesvabhadrisu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttaman sloke bhakti bhavaiti naisiki. So Śrimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 31. Today's text is 8. Text 8 of the 31st chapter, 3rd canto of the Śrimad Bhāgavatam. Continuation of the movements of the living entities. Ulbena samvritas tasmin. Antricha bahi avritaha. Bhagna prishta sirodaraha. What is that? I'm sorry. Aste kritva sirha kuksha Bhugna prishta sirodharaha Ulbhena sambritas tasmin Antrischa bahi avritaha Aste kritva siha kuksha Bhugna prishta sirodharaha Ulbhena sambritas tasmin Antrischa bahi avritaha Aste kritva siha kuksha Bhogna prishta sirodharaha. Can someone try?
Ulvena samritastasmin Mantraischa bahiravritaha Asti kritva shirah kukshau Bhugna prishta shirodharaha Ulvena samritastasmin Mantraischa bahiravritaha Asti kritva shirah kukshau Bhugna prishta shirodharaha
Ulvena samritastasmin Antreischa bahiravritaha Aste kritva shira kuksho Bhugna prishta shirodhara Ulvena samritastasmin Antreischa bahiravritaha Aste kritva shirah kukshau Bhugna prishta shirodhara
Anyone else?
Ulvena samritastasmin Antreischa bahiravritaha Aste kritva shirah kukshau Bhugna prishta shirodhara
Anyone else? Otherwise, Mataji's. How do you call it? Mataji's? Yeah, Prabhu's also, right?
Whatever you
You know. Mataji? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Word for word translation. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace is confirmed child. Srila A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swāmī Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay. At least Prabhupada, we should glorify Prabhupada. Okay.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ulbena by the amnion. Samvritaha enclosed. Tasmin in that place. Entre by the intestines. Cha and Bahi outside, avritaha, covered, aste, he lies, kritva, having put, siraha, the head, kuksha, towards the belly, bhagna, bent, pristha, back, siraha, daraha, neck. Translation. Placed within the amnion and covered outside by the intestines, the child remains lying on one side of the abdomen, his head turned towards his belly, and his back and neck arched like a bow. Please kindly responsibly repeat. Placed within the amnion and covered outside by the intestines, the child remains lying on one side of the abdomen. His head turned towards his belly. And his back and neck arched like a bow. Papa, if a grown man were put into such a condition as the child within the abdomen, completely entangled in all respects, it should be impossible for him to live even for a few seconds. Unfortunately, we forget all these sufferings and try to be happy in this life, not caring for the liberation of the soul from the entanglement of birth and death. It is unfortunate civilization in which these matters are not plainly discussed to make people understand the precarious condition of material existence. Om Gyana Timirandasya, Gyana Janasalankaya, Saksur Milita, Yen Tismai, Si Gurve Maha, Suchetang Manovistam, Stafitam, Yenabutari, Swayam Rupa Kadamayam, Dadatiswa, Padantika. Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Nityananda, Sahodita, Gurudaya Puspavantu, Chita Chanda, Tamam. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Samad Bhakti-Vedanta Swāmī Nitinamani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesa Sanyabhadi Pachatali Satari Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasvasa Gaura Bhakti-Vinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama. So, again, we continue to hear the enjoyment of the baby in the womb. Right? That is, who knows this term? There is a term. Even Krishna was very fond of using just phrases when he discusses with the gopis. He goes to kill Kamsa and he says, the gopis are just completely bewildered. They don't want him to leave Vrindavan to Mathura. And some come to lie on the road. If you want to go, then just crush me with your chariot. And so Krishna pacifies them. Hey, don't worry, gopis. I'm coming back. I'm going to pacify Kamsa. He didn't say, I'm going to kill Kamsa. He said, I'm going to pacify Kamsa. When you use sweet words to cover up something really nasty, there's a term for it.
Something bad. Some bad. It's one bad.
No. There's an English term for it. When you use...
Indirect speech.
Huh?
Indirect speech.
No, not indirect speech. Yes, scholars. If you cannot make it, I give you some homework, okay? It's a very good way of discussing nasty things in a very polite, polished way without changing the content.
I think it's like passive aggressive.
If I remember, I'll tell you, okay? But, because I use the word, we are still discussing about the baby's enjoyment in the womb, but it's actually suffering. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that if an adult has to be subjected to that type of horrible situation, it is difficult to survive, to breathe, even within a short period of time. And who will wait for that? They'll call the police. They call the police. You try to subject someone in that situation. That's a serious abuse. But here we are. This is what we pass through. A terrible situation. Yes, we may say, well, a marriage, talk about good things, the good things of life. We are talking about how we have suffered to be born, and how we have forgotten the whole of that suffering. In fact, at some point in time, because of the suffering of the baby in the womb, at some point in time, the baby prays. It comes, the super soul manifests before the child, and the baby prays, please, the living entity prays, please get me out from this mess, and I will always worship you. This was the promise we made to the super soul because of the suffering. You see, when someone is suffering, they remember God. Of course, when the suffering is too much, then they don't even believe in God. But even the atheists, I remember Apollo 11, when I was a kid, these people, they said they were making exploration to the moon, and most of them were like agnostics, gross atheists. But during the exploration journey, they had some problems. And they requested the people on earth, pray for us. When someone is facing a real problem, we know the level of their consciousness, whether they're really agnostics, they are unbelievers, or they turn to God. So, our situation in the womb, the suffering is nothing to compare about. We know Hiranyakasipu subjected a Prahlad to so much of suffering. But at least he was born, and he could speak. But here is a baby. He's right in the womb. The life begins with suffering. It begins in the womb, but it begins with suffering. And the suffering continues. As we are born in the womb, there is no breathing space. It's all suffering. Till the time of birth, it's all suffering. Worms beat the baby. He's thrown in amnion. You know what is amnion? It's filthy fluid. And the baby cannot call the police. You see, if we reflect on this very chapter, that could help us to perhaps become more serious with our devotional life. But because at least we will make a resolution that, what? This is what I passed through. I don't want to come back to this world. I don't want to again come to pass through this process. But majority of people on the planet, even majority of us, we are killers of the soul. In the descriptions of the child, they refer to the killers of the soul as someone who is a miser, who doesn't utilize this human form of life to attain devotional success. They neglect the whole main purpose of human life. They neglect the whole main objective of devotional culture. So it happens to us because sometimes we heard the philosophy, we become very ecstatic, we join the movement, we're chanting very enthusiastically in the beginning. We attend all the programs, we're very fired up. And at some point, later, we just feel relaxed. Like we comfort ourselves with the idea or with the philosophy that, it's a whole lifetime process. Why are you in a hurry? But we have to be in a hurry. In the words of Bhakti-Vāsudeva Svāmī, he said, our devotional service will accelerate in as much as we are having a consciousness of emergency consciousness. See, during crisis, people even forget to eat. They're after their lives. They want to save their lives. So they are very, very serious about self-exoneration. And here we are understanding this stuff. To understand this movement of the living entity, how the living entity is injected into the womb of the mother at the time of the affair, and then right from that very first day, there is gradual development coming up. And then here we are, as the months progress, it comes to that stage of a feeling of a pinch of suffering. There is no time. We don't find in this chapter anywhere, any time period of the child's journey in the womb that they breathe an air of relief or enjoyment. No. 9 months. If you are put in jail for 9 months, you have a bad record. If it's in America, you have a bad record. It's on the record. You can't go to get a government job. So, we should view, so we are, so to say, if we make a proper correlation, we are all ex-convicts. We served a jail term of 9 months. And if we get some interview, say, we want to get and they ask us, have you ever been arrested? Have you ever gone to jail? We said, no. But we forgot the jail that we are entering into this world. Actually, we started with a jail term of 9 months. And, when you are jailed, after some time, you can find a way to clean up that record if you know the proper procedure. Yeah, you can find a way to clean that record off. If you don't know the proper procedure, the record is going to be there. And each time the security officers, they Google you, that record comes up. If you know the way, you can figure out how to do away with that blemish on your records after some years. You can do away with that. So here we know the way how to do away with that records. And even not to again become convicted of the same crime. When someone commits a crime, are there some lawyers here? When someone commits a crime, he's put to jail, and sometimes he's released from jail, and then he commits the crime again. What's the term for that?
Repeat offender.
Huh?
Repeat offender.
No, there's a legal term for it. Recidivism. Recidivism. Someone is jailed. He's come out. He commits crime again. He goes to jail. Repeated. He knows if he commits a crime, he'll go to jail. But again, he commits a crime. And he goes to jail. It's called recidivism. That's a big area of research in criminology on recidivism. We are victims of recidivism because we've been taking bets over and over again, millions and millions of bets. We make the same mistakes, and we are thrown into jail for another 9 months, thrown into jail for another 9 months. This is recidivism. And people are comfortable with it. I'm fine. Imagine when you try to convince someone to chant Hare Krishna, and then you say, oh, chant and be happy. Oh, I'm happy. If they say they're happy, how are you going to convince them to chant? Yes, Bolo. If you meet somebody and then you say, chant and be happy, they say, I'm happy. Boy, I'm happy. So this is a situation in our material existence. Prabhupada used the word unfortunately, like how many times? In the purport, how many times he used that word? Anyway, so we keep repeating the same thing. It is only hardened criminals who are victims of recidivism. Some people, they go to jail and they learn so much. They never, ever commit any crime. I know one guy from upstate New York, he was a hardened drug addict. Hardened drug dealer, a drug baron. Eventually, he was rounded up by the cops. So they gave him, after prosecution, they found him guilty, gave him a long term of incarceration. We also have long terms of incarceration. From the 9 months, incarceration is extended. In fact, the incarceration in Kali Yoga is supposed to extend from 9 months to about 100 years. But in most cases, material nature says, okay, we're cutting down your extended incarceration. And we feel bitter about that. Why is my incarceration not extended? I want long life. So, it's unfortunate. Our condition is very unfortunate. But this is the nature of conditioned soul. You know why this term conditioned soul is so relevant in our daily understanding of our material existence? Because there is this scientist, Professor Pavlov, he developed a research project where, and those of you who did psychology or related causes, you have heard about this. He conditioned the dog. How? He encouraged the dog, and each time he wants to feed the dog, he will ring a bell. Yeah. And then he will measure the salivation of the dog. So that recording was going on. And then one time he rang the bell without bringing any food. And the dog was salivating. Why? Because of the dog was conditioned to the bell. He was conditioned to the bell in the sense that whenever the bell is rung, there is food. But even if there was no food, he was salivating. Physiologically eating. So we are conditioned souls. If even we know that the stuff there's no enjoyment in this material world. If even we are told that the world is full of suffering, even we experience it, Pashyana Pina Pashyati. We see, we hear, we experience it. We don't care. Either we don't care or we are lackadaisical, we have a lackadaisical approach to implementation. And that is due to several reasons. One, hridaya, weakness of heart. Second, we are circumscribed by the heavy modes of material nature, like the mode of passion, ignorance, and again, some endogenous factors and exogenous factors like lust. Lust is endogenous and exogenous, is intrinsic and intrinsic, outside, inside. When you have an enemy that deals with you from inside and from outside, I mean, it's like you're leading a troop of military guys to a war, but you have enemies within your own camp who are giving information to the external enemies. That's our situation. It's very difficult to win that type of war. Because the people who are going up with you to fight, some of them are your enemies. So lust is intrinsic and intrinsic. Within us and outside also, bombarding us. How are we going to do this on our own? How are we going to save ourselves on our own? If even we know that we have suffered through this process for 9 months in the womb, it is very difficult for us to do it on our own. It's like someone who is tied to the stakes to be executed. He can or she can only be relieved by someone who is not tied up. And so Krishna makes that arrangement for someone who is not tied up to try to help us to untie us. But even to untie us, we have to voluntarily accept to be untied. Because we can say, hey, don't touch me. So, it's pathetic. Our conditioned state is very pathetic. But we can actually become fired up to appreciate someone who is available to untie us from this bondage, to release us, to help to release us from this bondage. You see, if you commit a crime and you are found guilty, you have to post a bond. In some countries, you have to get a physical person to come and sign that bond, guaranteeing that if you don't come to for hearing, for the next hearing, that person will be arrested. And you have to also post some money. I think in America you have to post some physical cash. To get involved in any criminal case is so horrible. But we have been involved in criminal cases for billions of lifetimes. Repeatedly, these same crimes we commit. Recidivism. People wonder that recidivism, the criminologists, they wonder recidivism. Why these people are acting like this? This is our default. We have been involved in this very scenario. And physically also, we commit the crimes. We like to do immoral things. We like to get involved in things that are not ordained by our community ordinances and all this stuff. So we have to wake up. There's a verse in Sasas which says, "Wake up, sleeping souls. Jiva, Jiva Jago." We have to wake up. It's like we are sleeping, you know. We tend to be. If someone is deliberately sleeping or pretending to sleep, it's very difficult to save them. If even the house is on fire and they are just deliberately sleeping, pretending to sleep, if even you wake them up and tell them, "Hey, Joe, this house is on fire, please get up and leave," they pretend as if they don't hear you. They go back to sleep. This is our nature. This is our condition. We hear, we see the heart is on fire. We have seen the suffering. We have experienced the suffering. And yet, we don't act on emergency consciousness. So we have to revamp our enthusiasm by having strong associations, strong sadhusanga, people who are very serious. When they talk, I remember I like telling this. I remember when I was 10th president, in my early years of devotional service, and I thought, wait a minute, I didn't join this movement for this. I like the philosophy, but all this type of trouble, what is this? And I'm giving up my job, and I can't say I want to leave and then go back. But then I didn't like it because that was not why I joined. I like the philosophy. I joined, but then in ISKCON, when they see that you're serious, sincere, then they tell you, "Oh, do this, take this responsibility, take this responsibility." So I got really like it. So when we have the responsibilities, it's a chance to make expedited progress. Because we have to be. I remember when I was a Pujari, we had to wake up 1 o'clock to chant. At least 16 rounds before 4 o'clock. Oh yeah. Because from 4 o'clock, there is no time again until after prasad, you go out for Sankirtan and come back 5 o'clock and go back to the altar again. Our devotional life now is, Bhakti made easy, okay? Yeah. So we have to take advantage of what is available. And, I hear people say, I want to try to get myself out from all this repeated bed and deck, all this repeated suffering, but, I'm working 8 hours or 10 hours, and I don't have the time. I get really, busy. I like to meet people like this. I like to meet people who say they're busy with work, they're busy with school, so they don't have time to chant. Yeah. Because as a young man, I was working, and when I encountered the devotees, I started chanting 16 rounds. I go to work. I was leaving myself in my own flat. I go to work. Before I go to work, I leave for work at about 7:30. Before I leave for work, I would finish my 16 rounds. And when I come back from work, instead of going out like the traditional way we used to do before, I lock up myself in my room, in my apartment, and chant another 16 rounds and go to bed. And my friends who I used to go out with, they were mad at me. They thought, what is wrong with you? You're not coming out. You're not coming out with us. You're not coming to hang out with us. So when you try to do the needful, you try to help yourself to avoid this repeated incarceration in the womb and the suffering that ensues even after birth. When you want to take this type of regimentation in your life, people will complain, friends will complain, family members will complain, and all this type of stuff. But you know what? When you die, even your most beloved, the person who claims to love you the most, they will not put a plastic spoon in your coffin. Plastic spoon is how much? How much does the plastic spoon cost? The small one you give me for eating, how much does it cost? It's insignificant. Who knows? 19 cents. They will not put there. Oh, darling, I love you so much. I know you love me so much. When you die, when you give up this body, you seen anybody? Even Michael Jackson, who was so famous, he brought fame to his family. When he gave up the body, you think the parents put in 19 cents inside the coffin? People don't do that. They prey on your resources. They fight. Go for litigation. Who gets the bigger chair? This is all a deception when we think that someone out there, they love us so dearly, they sacrifice so much that I can't do without them. Die now, what are you? They cannot do without you. We're not saying don't love people, but to neglect your devotional cultivation, your devotional sadhana, all in the name of making a compromise, is not worth it. It's not worth it. Rather, we should elevate ourselves and let us become perfected souls and liberate 21 generations, 15 generations, 12 generations, 10 generations of our families. That is a benefit when you become serious in your devotional life. What if even you're the richest man? Who is the richest person on this planet now? Huh? Elon Musk? Oh, really? Okay, so if even you're Elon Musk, when you die, family members and your children, they will just massacre your resources. They fight and kill themselves. If you don't write a will before it, some people, they don't write any will. They forgot to write a will. And sometimes they write a will, and then the people who are to execute the will, they manipulate the will. They create another will. Material life. So, we should try to understand that we came to this world alone. We will live alone. Oh, yeah. But if we are serious with our devotional life, we can decarcerate ourselves from this circle of birth and death, from being locked up in the womb for 9 months. And then come out from the cervix after so much of pressure that you faint. And then they resuscitate you, the doctors and the nurses, they resuscitate you to begin another phase of suffering for tens of years. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? The suffering is worth it? It's worth it now? Okay. So then we should make some decisions what to do with our lives. In other words, whatever we are doing, maintaining our families, we're doing our jobs, we are schooling, we should also integrate this sadhana very seriously in our daily activities. And that will make us to be happy. And that will enable us to attain the ultimate goal at the end of this life. It's a question of integration. Anybody did calculus in college here? You read calculus in college? Calculus.
Yes.
You read calculus? Yeah. Calculus is very difficult. Okay. There is a section of calculus, it's called integration. Integration is, even the astute students in calculus, sometimes you see them when the subject matter becomes too abstract, to cool their head, they walk away from the class because things get too abstract. Integration is very difficult. Similarly, to integrate our sadhana with our profession or with our studies or with our family maintenance, if someone tells you it's easy, they have not experienced it. It is difficult. But we can effectively do that when we effectively manage our 24 hours of the day. So let's be resolute in decarcerating ourselves from this prison of repeated birth and death. Any comments or questions? Yes. What is the mic? Arbo.
I was thinking about struggle and urgency.
What?
About struggle and urgency, and how you were saying that bhakti is not easy, but when you understand the urgency, the body and consciousness wakes up. And through waking up, you gain strength. And through practicing devotional service in that waking up and gaining strength, you also develop love. And whereas we may struggle to bring in materialistic things, but in the end it's suffering. And so in devotional service is always in our favor. So I was appreciating that you were speaking about urgency, because sometimes we may not have love in the beginning, but if you know, okay, I have to do this, then through that perseverance, some love.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, even our devotional process is not easy. We should admit that it's not easy, okay? Because I remember sometimes during festival especially, I remember one time we had a festival, and there was this what do you call? There was an office that was close to the temple where I was staying, and so I used to go there to make some internal, send faxes and something like that. So the owner of that very business, the husband of that lady is a pilot. And so I created some relationship with the guy who is there, which the brother to the lady. And so during Janmashtami, I brought some, some real juicy stuff, gulab jamun and cakes and all these types. But then, one day I was driving past that very place, and someone was shouting on my name, Vāsudeva, Vāsudeva, Vāsudeva. So I stopped. I avoid turning onto voices when I'm driving. But this one, because it was in a local setting and it was not on the highway, so I just stopped and turned to see. And it was the lady, the wife to the pilot. And she said, "So you are a Krishna. You are enjoying so much. You are enjoying so much." I said, "What is it?" And she was referring to the prasadam that we sent to the family. So people tend to think that we are enjoying But if they come as participate in some of our festivals, they think, oh, these people, let me become a devotee. Then the temple president or the management, they say, all right, can you come and spend some weekends and see what goes on? I remember in those days we used to wake up at 3 o'clock. So at 3 o'clock, the temple commander rings a bell, or some agency rings a bell, and he goes to different ashrams to wake up the devotees who are still sleeping. And the person who was enthused to join and was requested to come and spend some weekend to see how things flow, they woke him up. It's time to wake up. 3 o'clock. After that weekend, they never come to sleep in the temple again. So the point is, even devotional life is not easy, but nothing good comes easy. If you want to be a great achiever, you want to get first-class honors, you want to get 4.5 in your GPA, you have to be a nocturnal boy. You have to read like anything. So even going to school, there is no enjoyment there. We go to school because we want to get a good job in the future so that we don't have to work like an ass. Who enjoys going to college? I'm not seeing a single person who says, I enjoy going to college. Even people don't enjoy going to work. They go to work because of the financial resources. And therefore, yes, our devotional life is going to award your family a lot of benefit. The devotee who follows the tradition, who follows the principles, if even they don't become a pure devotee, if even they are not Madhya Madhikari, 10 generations of the family follow the principles, chanting every day 16 times, you're serving in purpose movement. You get 10 generations of your family benefit from it, before you and after you. For the Madhya Madhikari, far more than that. For the Uttama Madhikari, 21 generations. That means 42 generations. 21 generations before them and after them. This is described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, in the discussion between Pundarik Vidyanidhi and Gadadhar Pandit. So what type of job, what is it that you are going to do that will benefit people yet to be born in your family? So yeah, we have to take the devotional life seriously, because there is a lot of benefit that accrues with whatever we do in devotional service. So thank you for your observation and comment. This is called lived experience. All right, what's the time now? Okay, I have about half a minute more. Any comment? Okay, yeah.
I have a question. So you said we feel suffering when we are in the womb. So if I'm not feeling the suffering, should I consider it as suffering? Because suffering is caused by mind. When pain will be there, I understand. But we are causing suffering when we are God. So how can I consider the pain in the womb to be suffering?
Yeah, the pain in the womb, we're not experiencing that right now, but we have experienced it when we are in the womb. We can't deny that. We came through the womb. We came through that process. So Prabhupada is emphasizing in the purport that it's unfortunate. We are born and we forget this suffering. We are born, we treated like princes and princes, and we forgot this suffering. We're fed with gulab jamun right from childhood, and the child is smiling. He thinks, oh, I'm great here. What else do I want? I'm great here. Even coming through the cervix, that tiny hole, it cracks the consciousness. You faint. You forget everything. The child is born. In most cases, the child faints and is resuscitated. And so, forgetfulness is what is helping us to move on. Sometimes people want to know about their past life, and so, but if you just understand how you suffered in the womb, what's the question of the past life? So, if you are not okay, if you know about your past life that you were a multi-billionaire in a past life, and in this life you hardly find 3 square meals, how are you going to feel? You feel bad. So the important thing for us is to understand that, having taken birth, do we have that propensity to forget? In fact, in the Bhāgavatam, it is also mentioned that one of the defaults of the conditioned soul in Kali Yuga is that we forget so easily. That is why we have all these electronic gadgets for, to remind us and all this stuff. So it is true. If we are not feeling the suffering, and there are people who don't feel the suffering, yet by dint of their realized knowledge, they understand, yes, I'm not suffering, but other people are suffering. Buddha went out and they just had a periscopic view of the environment, and he saw people. He was not suffering, but he saw people suffering, and he decided, let me do something about it. Yeah, we may not be suffering, but we have to act in a way to be able to create comfort for others, to help others to grow, to help others to become extricated from their suffering. And the highest type of rendition is to give people Krishna consciousness, give people the holy name, to preach Krishna consciousness. And Lord Krishna mentions in the Gita, there is no one who is more dear to him than a person who spreads the message, his message to others. We want to be dear to Krishna. This is the process. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki jai.